Let's build and review this classic speedboat from 1994. Hi, this is Tim, and welcome back to Bricks. I just got this set in off of Bricklink, but when I originally had it, I can remember going to a store like CVS or something similar and finding this little set in one of those toy aisles. As this one came out in 1994, it was towards the end of my original Lego period and right before the Dark Age. I was 13 and Legos were still fun, but they weren't cool anymore. But now that I'm middle-aged, it's cool again. This is set number 6537, the Hydro Racer from Lego System Town. It has one minifigure and 50 pieces. This one actually came with the instructions, so let's take a look. Nice, this one came with a Black Visor. I remember these Black Visors were so cool when they came out on the first generation Blacktron, where you'd have the guy all blacked out and then the full black visor. And it doesn't matter that you can't see through it, that's not the point. You know that it's tinted, but the Lego guy can see through it even if you can't. So hopefully this set has all the pieces. Looks like we've got a little bit of an icon here, maybe Lego Race. This is part of boats and cars and anything else that was Lego Race. Interesting. That's interesting too. All right, so 12 steps here. I can see already some of the new pieces are this life jacket, or relatively new in the early 90s. I don't know if it was brand new, this set, but it was new generally around this period. The face is correct. I wasn't quite sure. My daughter noticed at first that it had this smiley face, and it is the right head for this set. And it's interesting, they added eyebrows to this guy. A nice Octane oil blueprint here. Very solid print. You can already see the difference between 80s and 90s sets as far as quality of the prints, or fidelity, or detail. Technology must have taken a leap forward there. This was another new piece that at least I'm aware of. I remember coming out and getting this set, and this was pretty new, or at least something that I hadn't seen before. And these guys too, I believe, were fairly new. Sort of one by with a branch on it and a curve. So let's get started. The guy is simple enough. Get the vest on him. I just love the size of the vest. It looks more like a life jacket here. And the head and the helmet. Hey, how's it going? I'm gonna grab a guy from 1985 with a vest that's actually from the 70s and show you to compare it. So this guy is from 6697, the Rescue 1 helicopter. So he's actually got a deeper blue, but the vest is almost like, it's a slightly different type of plastic from what I understand. It's a little bit thinner. But it's almost like they created just this flat piece and then just bent it over almost like you would with a piece of metal and a sheet brake. Whoop! Kind of acts like a little spring. But you can see the vest is just this flat piece, and it works. They both work. They both get the same point across, but just the detail of this with the visor and everything goes longer. I'm glad they got rid of those eyebrows. I don't like them. This guy's gonna go away. Whoop. And we'll set this guy off to the side while we build. But this set I paid for myself. They got these nice base plates on this one. I don't know when this came out, but nice angle on there, good for boats, and I'm sure spaceships and lots of other great stuff here. Got some red grills going on the side. I always think of these as like Tetris pieces, these L corner bricks here. What's inside? This generation of the instructions, still not telling you how many parts you need unless it's kind of tricky and hidden there. And I really do prefer this, where you just look and kind of pick the one-by-one, step-by-step instructions. I know they make sense on the more complicated sets, and sometimes, but I just like this more relaxed, to me, building environment, because I'm not being told what exact piece I can pick up. If I see two new pieces, I can pick up whichever one I want first. I can pick up two pieces, and it's kind of funny because I feel like that has helped me be a critical thinker and notice patterns and changes and things, even just in my work environment. You know, not necessarily where I work now, but as far as my entire career is where I've kind of see these things, and there's more to it than that, but I feel like maybe I was conditioned a little bit more growing up to see where things were kind of headed. This piece is a little dirty. Just by kind of looking at something that someone else might miss, and it might need a more specific example. So steering wheel here, this one's a little dirty too. Let's see where other people might clean them, but it's not the end of the world. So that's pretty quick so far. It's already looking like a boat. Flip it over and get to the backside. Halfway done. All right, here's where we add those new pieces, these colorful red, yellow, and blue. And this is getting into the early 90s territory where some of the Lego designs changed a little bit. And oh my goodness, that's a gigantic spider I gotta kill. All right, so where were we? These new pieces, you know, Lego kind of goes through these phases. Even now, as I'm getting back into it, I'm noticing I'm liking where they're at now as far as designs and ideas, but maybe 5 years ago, there was just something a little bit off about the execution. And I think kind of early 90s, it started going that way a little bit. I think the set is executed pretty well, but I think the colors start to get a little gaudy, a little clashy, and maybe that was just part of the early to mid 90s, and maybe it fit in there. But looking back, you know, the 80s sets seemed to work, but the early 90s colors just kind of get out there. And I think that kind of continues through the 90s with Legos. You know, obviously they started coming out with theme sets like movie sets in the 90s, and I wasn't a fan of that because I felt that, you know, it really kind of hinders your imagination. And I get it, I'm glad they came out. It really kind of saved the company, and I like Star Wars sets and other theme sets, so don't get me wrong. But one of the great things about Lego is it's all up to your imagination. Yeah, they give you a set and a theme and a direction, but you make up the guy's name, you make up the whole story about the race, and you know, maybe he's not even in a race. You know, you've got all that where you have a Star Wars set or something like that, and all of a sudden it's Luke Skywalker. You're recreating stuff you've already seen, so I feel like there's a little bit of a loss in your imagination exercise there. But these great little pieces here, these rounded edge 2x2 circles, great. I like what they're doing here is where they're giving you a little bit of a bump, and I think that this helps give it that effect and that rake that a speedboat would have in the water. It's where it's kind of angled up and kind of hitting the waves and going fast, so I like that they build that in just to the actual build. So now we're going to build the outboard motors. And these are kind of cool, just real simple. I mean, these grill pieces are so versatile, they do so much. You do so much with them. And then we've got these forks here too. Interesting, this is like a hinge piece, but if you don't hook it up with the hinge, you can really kind of work it out. And I have to think that these were relatively new, at least in that era. You know, normally you had the fork piece in the old days where the fork was like that, and you put an accessory or something in there, like on a police station or a tool or what have you. But this was sort of the rotated fork, and I like that. That was interesting. The old forks are my favorite, but I like that. It's clever. A good use of taking one part and just kind of rotating part of it, and it becomes versatile in so many new ways. Just a good industrial design, I guess you could call it. Yeah, and these kind of outboard motors go like that. Again, just a few bricks, and in context, you know, out of context, you could even tell what that is. That looks like a motor of a boat, but in context, they're it's undeniable what they are. All right, one last little piece up here. Voila, we have our speedboat. Let's get our little guy in it. What do you think? Should he have his visor up or his visor down? I always think up kind of looks pretty cool. So let's go with up. Although if he starts racing, you might want to put that down. He's going to get a lot in his face. The only downside of the really simple design of the outboard motors is that this connection on the top is a little lackluster, a little weak. Got some tie down points on the side. Grills kind of poke out there. I mean, even for the bright colors that I'm not necessarily a fan of, I do think it works. I think that, you know, it's got a certain flair to it. Like how they've treated this motor up here. It's very F1-esque the way they have it, and I like that. You know, perhaps this is, I mean, it wouldn't really be an intake because you got outboard motors, but this would make a great addition to any city you got going on, a little waterway, whether it's in a big waterway with a large boat or you just got a little lake. And plus, as being a little boy who loves to race things around, zoom it around, this is perfect for that. It's a little articulation in the motors, hit the waves, and you get up. Maybe take them out of the water when you dock. This completes the build for this little set. If you like what you saw, please hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. Until next time, let's get back to bricks.